Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining. Wale, I see you. We apologize for the delay. Thank you, Victoria. Victoria, such a long time. Happy New Year. Waiting for others to join us. Even our guest is waiting. We apologize for the delay. Just had to take care of a few things. Please, we want it to be a discussion. All of us, let's join. Let's make comment. Let's discuss this. Our guest is already here with us. So we'll just have him on. Please come with your questions, comments, experience. Just want to lend our voice to this discussion. Tosin, all the way from the Swahili land. Doctor,
Ross, what's up, though?
can I be your patient?
Yes, you can.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm solid. How are you?
Fine, thank you. We apologize for the delay. We just needed to take care of a few things, but we are good now. We are good now.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
apologize to you as well for taking extra 30 minutes of your time.
It's cool. I wanted to say, because of the place I'm in right now, internet connection could be quite a tough thing. So, I'm going to apologize in advance in case we experience any issues. So, but my fingers are crossed that nothing bad will happen. So let's see how it works.
Yeah,
Kaycee, I see
we
you.
are praying. Yeah, we are praying for the network as well.
Yeah. Tosin.
So Tosin is joining us from another land, more powerful land like that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Mm.
How you doing, Tosin? And Ruth. Hi, Ruth. Ruth, that's my friend. She's a doctor as well.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
Ruth, for joining. A few people have been sending messages. They said they've been waiting. If you scroll down, see, I have been waiting. You know Wale, right?
I know Wale.
You don't know Wale?
I know him.
Yeah, he's been waiting as well. So I think we should just start. Please
Okay.
join us from wherever you are. And we want you to make comments, your experience, your thoughts on this issue of rape and gender-based violence, and we'll be discussing. All right, it's going to be a good time. Now, can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly.
We bind you internet in Jesus' name.
I hope you can hear me because I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah. So on this issue of rape and gender-based violence that is becoming rampant, becoming more serious and everything, I felt that we need to have these kind of discussions, and so that people can also understand. We need to let people know our positions as well.
Yeah.
Where we stand in this whole discussion. Then we also need to change the narratives, the orientation of certain group of people that are trying to justify all these kind of things. So, from your experience and your research over time, what is your opinion about this noise about rape and all the noise that people are making all over about this issue of rape?
First of all, it is more rampant than we know. It is just unfortunate that people are not quick to report rape cases when they occur, either because they are questioning if that was truly rape or not, and they're questioning if they had a hand in inciting that rape, and they're also questioning if anyone would believe them. And so you find that rape cases are always underreported, generally speaking. So if you want to know if people, I mean, if you want to know the statistics on rape, you'd be better served going on the street and asking people than going to the police station and asking the police, because some cases get killed within the home setting. People, when a rape case is reported at home, the parents say, you know what, let's settle it at home here. Let's settle it amicably. Let's not put the family to shame. That kind of thing. And then it doesn't get to the proper authorities who should be dealing with it. So the first thing you want to know is that these numbers, whatever numbers you see on the internet, are underreported. They're not representative of the true numbers, they're not a good picture of what's really happening out there.
So, but now the issue of rape is getting more and more serious now. People are raising their voices about this thing. And some other people have said that capital punishment for rapists. What's your opinion about this, the issue of punishment for rapists?
Okay, so first of all, it's not getting more rampant. It's just getting more reported. It's getting more visibility. That's what's happening. Okay. Social media has helped people, sort of survivors of rape, speak up. And so now we are seeing it. I mean, people are literally posting conversations from 2000, 2001, where some, stars, music stars, joked about rape, and they, so it's been happening. It's just that now with social media, we now get to see it, and it's just like racism. Someone says, "Oh, racism is worsening." It's not getting worse. It's just getting more reported. That's what's happening. You were asking about the question of, well, should we apply capital punishment? I hope I'm still audible.
Yes, audible. Yeah.
Okay. Should we apply capital punishment? No, because as heinous as the crime is, as terrible as the crime is, you always have to give that margin of error that someone is being accused falsely. And so if you kill, if you pass the judgment of death, and then later on you realize that, oh, that person was actually accused falsely, the person is gone already. There's no taking it back. In America, for example, there was a case of a woman who accused a black man of raping her, and many years later, they were able to discover that she actually lied about it. So, what if he was dead already? So, yes, the crime is heinous and deserves the utmost punishment in the law, but not death.
Okay, so with that, a few people will disagree with that. Especially when it is confirmed, maybe everything, the person is guilty. We used to say capital punishment should not be meted out to a confirmed rapist.
Well, what is a confirmed rapist? I mean, this is plain law now. Even when you have a confirmed rapist or a confirmed thief, murderer, serial murderer, in countries that have cancelled capital punishment entirely, they do not want to sentence the person to death because of these reasons I've stated earlier. So, I mean, every sensible person agrees that this is a heinous crime and deserves the highest of punishments. But then the next question is, do you support capital punishments in general across board for very serious crimes or not? Personally, I do not support capital punishment for even very serious crimes. I prefer life imprisonment because, again, in the law, I could set someone up. I could really set you up to look like the thief that has been stealing and killing people, or the rapist who has been raping people serially. So I could do that. And there's always that benefit of doubt in the law that maybe new evidence will be unearthed later on that will help extricate that person from that situation. But so I think that would be a discussion of whether you support capital punishment in general or not. So knowing my stance now, you can tell why I am hesitant to say yes. But whatever laws apply in whatever country, the highest form of punishment, I think that's what rapists deserve, because it is an unspeakable crime, and the impacts of which are long lasting and continue to affect the victim for many years.
Okay, so why apart from the social media and all of that, why do victims of rape refuse to speak up? Is it societal? Is it family? What are the reasons why victims of rape do not speak up?
It is a very personal story, and it is a very it is a very it's not something that people want to just reveal to anybody, first of all. Secondly, for them to have the trust to reveal that story, they have to gain confidence in you that you will believe their story. And if, as a society, we are prone to not believing rape survivors, then that's a problem. And so if someone has experienced rape, if someone has been raped, the person now thinks, well, first of all, if I tell my story, they're not going to believe me. So why should I even tell it? Or if they believe me, they will try to silence me. They'll try to, they'll tell me, oh, he's your uncle, and you should not try and divide this family, you have to be quiet about it. And meanwhile, I'm going to have to continue to see this uncle for the rest of my stay in this house. Do you understand? So the way society is structured, is structured in a way that, especially when you have societies that propagate this culture of silence, where we don't like to talk about these things. We like to just keep quiet about them. To the victims, they do not receive the motivation that's required to actually tell their stories and shame the perpetrator rather than the victim. So that's one of those reasons. And there's also the fact that, like, I know, for example, there was a case that someone told me about in Nigeria, where not in Nigeria, in Ghana, where the victim was told to report to the police, and then she said, and after that, what next? And they said, well, what do you mean, what next? And she said, well, he is my sustenance. He gives me the money that I need to eat every day. He takes care of my kid. The perpetrator here was the husband, by the way. He takes care of my kid. So if I report to the police, what's the police going to do about it? They'll punish him. But then, okay, after punishing him, what's going to happen to my sustenance, to my children? So the way that rape works is that there's a unequal power dynamics, in which one person is relying completely or partially on the other person, who then leverages that power, the unequal dynamics, to sort of require sex from the person. So I think that one way you would encourage people to report is by, as silly as it sounds, ensuring the economic emancipation of women, making sure that they're not afraid of what they'll lose if they report it.
So the image is saying family pressure, societal pressure, personal defense mechanism against the assault, suppression, all contribute to why some don't speak up. There's something that we need to talk about, which is about even women. When there's a victim, there's a stigmatization against the victim. And it's a big, big problem that has going on for years. When people, like ladies that have been victims of this, when they come out to speak, you can read all sorts of nonsense on the internet. A lady saying, oh, if a man wants to rape you, don't allow the person to rape you, just give your consent. and don't allow it to become rape and everything. Somebody's saying that, people saying those kind of things to justify rape. Now the question I'm putting forward to you is this: is there any justification at any time for rape?
No. There's no. I was actually talking to my eldest brother, this evening, and I was talking to him, and he mentioned, how even if you are already in the act, and then the lady says, no, I changed my mind, you should stop, pull up your pants, and walk away. And I mean, there's no justification for it. I've gone through Twitter, and I've seen all sorts of stupid justifications. People say, oh, I was hard already, and I was in the process, and I could not stop myself. So I continued anyway, even though she said no. I mean, even if you were 1 second from finishing, you sorry, bad luck, but you're not going to. Like, there's no reason to. I mean, once you hear the word no, it means no. I am yet to hear one story that I go, oh yeah, that's a possible reason for rape. No, she dressed, her skirt was too short. Maybe you should look somewhere else. You know, she invited me to the house. Okay, there are times that it happens that the person invites you to the house, and the person was in a certain mood when they invited you to the house, but when you arrived, mood changed. Now the person doesn't feel like going on with what they had invited you for. You put on your clothes and you leave. Like, there is no excuse to say, oh, because you had invited me initially, I then thought that would mean I could do whatever I want. And so with consent, the question with consent is that, can consent be given? Yes, it can be given. And it should be given before you proceed. Can it be withdrawn? Yes, consent can be withdrawn. And it doesn't matter, like I joked just a couple of minutes ago, it doesn't matter in what process of sex you're in when it's withdrawn. It can be withdrawn. Can consent be reinstated later on? Yes. I mean, basically, the two parties have to continually be in agreement while they're carrying out whatever sexual activity they're carrying out. That's just the way it is. There's no excuse there.
Because we are still going to go deep into this. To make you say consent is sexy, consent is no means no. We have always argued about this. No is a complete sentence. It doesn't need further explanation.
It doesn't need a why.
It doesn't need a why. And Nico is saying it is mandatory to leave. To leave though.
Is it mandatory to leave?
I don't know, maybe when
it's my friend.
Yeah.
Yes, Nico, it is mandatory to leave.
Yeah, to avoid stories that touch.
Right.
Yeah, so do you know why I asked you about the issue of people talking about indecent dressing? It's total fallacy. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
There are many stories of people that rape 6 months old.
Oh God, yeah.
People that rape 85-year-old woman. People that rape somebody that's fully covered, even a religious woman in a full hijab, like a Muslim. So those people were decently dressed. They were fully covered, and so the issue of indecent dressing can never be placed side by side with the act of rape. So people should stop using, and that's indecent. The ladies are indecently dressed. That's why they are raped and all of that. So we cannot even justify that. So before we can actually deal with the issue of rape now, that means something is wrong in the society, in the family, even in the schools. What are those things that has led to this continuous evil, even other vices, sexual vices, rape, and all of that. What are the evils?
Okay. Before I say that, I want to read the Mage's message. It said, "Men must rise above the urges of their nether regions, self-discipline and respect for human autonomy rather, and decency should be taught at an early stage." It's a little difficult to read with my own picture in the background.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to say. That part of the problem is that we do not communicate with the way we socialize our men is that we do not we do not teach them the workings of sex, how sex is instigated, for example, initiated, I think a better word. So for example, if one learns sex from porn, what's your idea of sex? As a man who's been watching porn, your idea of sex is that you just see a woman that you like, right? Violence. You just see a woman that you like. You order a pizza and she delivers it, and you like her, and you just pull her into your house, and the act of sex just takes place. So many young men are learning sex from Pornhub, and that's a problem because it is simulation. It's not reality. That nobody has sex that way, and so these men have grown up to think that the bodies of women belong to them. And so they sort of demand the woman's body, and they lure her into their company, and when she comes in there, then when no one's watching, they rape the lady. So this is where we experience problems. The fact that men are taught that it's okay, that they actually have unfettered access to the woman's body. I joked with a friend of mine, and I said that I have realized that some of my Nigerian friends, and sorry to be very specific right now, but some of my Nigerian friends don't even know how to talk properly to a woman. You see the aggression with which they speak. So you must have seen this men go, "Hey, fine woman, how you did?" And there's this aggressiveness in the tone, and if she doesn't respond, then they start to make fun of her and abuse her and stuff like that. So I think that it's just the way that we have been socialized as men to not appreciate women properly, or how to approach them, and that's a problem. Sexual education.
But the truth is this. Now, who do we blame? For example, where this part of the world now, and many parts of the world, because of the way the economies are designed, many parents do not have time for their children. You understand what I'm saying? So, because of that, they are left in the hands of so many people. Children are exposed quite early to a lot of vices and everything. So, because of the way the economies are designed all over the world, parents do not spend enough time with their children, which is supposed to be the foundation of proper training. So, what do we do? When we were in high school, let me tell you some of the experience that we have that should be corrected. When we were in high school, when we on the assembly ground, I don't know where some people will remember. We stand behind girls on the assembly ground. We'll be touching girls. We say we are tapping currents. I don't know whether you heard anything like that before.
Yeah.
All those things contributed to debasing of women.
Yeah.
We stand beside a girl, behind a girl, we'll be using our bodies to touch them without consent, and then we'll be making fun of it. Those things accumulate into what people grow, and then they begin to debase women, so all of those things. So I think that families, society, and everything contributed to putting women under. Yeah.
I agree. I agree with you totally. And to buttress that point, I think that now that society has organized itself in such a way that men and women do not have enough time for their kids and to teach their kids, and to monitor their kids and make sure that they're actually like following, growing up properly. Um, it is now the job of the educational system to ensure that boys know how to treat girls and girls know how to communicate with boys. It's now supposed to be incumbent on our educational system to do this. But the problem is that our educational system is a political battleground where people who have different belief systems or different political ideologies from other people try to influence the curriculum. So, for example, if you live in a country that's a little more conservative, you will have some of the more conservative people influencing the curriculum to a more conservative place, such that sex is now a three-letter word that must not be spoken about. So this is what then comes of it, that we are afraid to talk about sex in schools because our educational syllabuses have become a political battleground, and then students now have to learn sex from other places that are not right. And if we want to change that, if we're serious about changing that, it starts with having an open conversation about first of all, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Okay, your video just got a little okay, all right, I think it's better now. So we must have an open conversation about what what the problem is. First of all, acknowledging the problem that it exists in our society, and then talking openly about sex and sex education amongst our younger people. Someone said, even in the church, I can read someone's message here. Even in the church, we must talk
that's
about.
Victoria.
Yeah,
that's Victoria.
Ah, that's Victoria. Okay. Okay,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
Victoria.
Hi, Vicky. So, yeah, even in the church, we must talk about it. We must not be afraid. I've been in churches where the pastor is sharing a story about maybe how a woman who had been believing God for a child finally got the child, and then the pastor says, "Oh, they came to me and I prayed for them, and then they went home and the man put her in the family way." What the heck is in the family way? Can we just say what it is? I mean, if we're so ashamed to even have this open conversation, to have this conversation in the open, then how do we expect victims of rape or survivors of rape, rather, to then come out and say, look, this is what I've experienced, or this is what this person did to me? How do we expect that to happen when we say put someone in the family way?
Do you know the issue of the church? The issue of the church that you mentioned. I have a message sent to me by somebody that they were in the church. Because the lady was lamenting that Jesus valued women. That Mary Magdalene, Mary and Martha, and all of those women. Said they were in a church setting one day, and the women were talking about, oh, the girl child and everything. The girl should do this, the girl should do that. So one of the women stood up and said, why are we talking about the girl child only? I'm not talking about all the children, training the children. All the other older women in the church told her that it's the girl child that gets pregnant, that brings shame to the family. It's the girl child that does this. It's the girl child that does that. The woman had to sit down. Do you know what? All her children are girls. So she had to quickly sit down and just cover and just sit down quietly. Everyone was just talking about the girls have to do this, the girls have to do that. Nobody wants to talk about men who beat their wives, men who womanize, rape, mistreat women. If there's a divorce, the woman is at fault. If a man was having money and at some time he was not having money again, it's the woman that didn't help him to manage his finances. Everyone wants to shamify the woman. You know,
Yeah.
so, and many people think it's Africa. No. Abroad, in many developed countries, we have so many young men that impregnate women and just abandon them. And the women become a lot increase in single motherhood. In America, a lot increase. Yes, increase. You see women running up and down, trying to take care of the children. You'd ask, where is the father in this situation? Where are the parents? Where is the father of this child? But the woman is the one doing all of. There's an increase in that. And that happened over the years. They're focusing on what? Girl child, abandoning the men and raising up irresponsible men in many homes. For example, if I use my own home as an example, my parents had five boys. In my home, if you don't know how to cook in my home, you will die of hunger. Everybody must know how to cook. House chore was for everybody must learn it. Because like I mentioned with somebody yesterday, all those house chores, cooking, basic things, they are what? Survival skills.
Yeah.
They are not, you don't know where you're going to be. See where you are today. You have traveled across different continents. And look at you now.
Yeah.
Look at where you are now. You're on your own right now. You need to take care of yourself. So there are some skills that you need growing up as a boy that will help you wherever you find yourself. So what is the solution apart from because for me I feel that the home is not doing enough. They're not doing well. The church is not doing enough right now. Okay, you see that only few religious places you find them doing main conference. Even started not too long. We used to have women conference, women this, women that, for many years. The focus was on women gathering. The women do this. The women fellowship. The women do. Let me give you an example. In places that I go, women have meetings regularly to gather the men for a meeting. The men's fellowship, and then they should meet. You hardly find 3 to 5 men attending the meeting. Where they are all busy. How can I have time to come and sit down for this when I'm looking for money? You know, so we must change the narrative. If there's a difference right now, but we as men that we are having this kind of discussion, what we must do, we owe the next generation. We owe the next generation a duty to correct this anomaly.
Yeah. I agree. We cannot. I always say to my friends that one guiding principle in my life is that you must leave something better than you met it. You cannot go somewhere and leave things worse than you met them. Many of us, and God bless our parents, but I mean, they could have done better. they could have done better.
Yes.
So but as we were growing up, we realized the mistakes that some of our parents made, and we said, you know what, we're going to be better parents. We are going to be better fathers to our children. You make a fine point there, saying that parents focus on the training of the girl child, and then they forget to socialize their male children to become better men and better husbands and better brothers. And we in our generation now have to see that, okay, that's a mistake that our parents made. We now have to correct that. We have to teach our children, both boys and girls. First of all, we teach our boy children or boy child to be responsible, to be empathetic, to listen, to engage. And then we teach our uh female children or a girl child to realize danger when it's near, because we also have to sensitize our girl child to the dangers that she's growing up in. We cannot wish it away. We can't pretend that it's not there. We have to ensure that our children, as our female children, as they grow up, they are already alert to the danger that's going around. There's this there's this American lady that I was listening to, and she said she taught her daughter the pants rule, and I can't really remember it, but the summary of it is that if anybody but mommy touches your pants, you must tell me. Okay, so I think one story was shared about how a girl came back from elementary school and she told her mom, teacher so and so touched my pants, because the mom had told her that if anybody else apart from me, mommy, touches your pants, you must tell. And so she reported to the mom, and turns out that that teacher had been abusing the girls in the primary school. That's what saved the moment. So these are the realities that these people are growing up in. So we need to prepare them for that reality, while at the same time educating our boy children and saying, listen, women are not yours to grab. They're not yours to tap current or to joke very mean way with. They're yours to protect, to treasure and to cooperate with. So this is the point you've made, a very solid point, and I'm not even sure I could even add more to it. That the church in itself has this church has been influenced by our traditions and our cultures, and rather than take the Bible for what it is, we have now started to interpret the religion and the Bible based on our cultures and our religion. So we say that the women should come for women program, but the men are free to go. And when the men finally decide that they're going to come for men's programs, we're asking them to pray that they get good wives, that they should get someone who will cook for them, who will give them the best sex in the world, who will give them a male child, who will be a superhero. We're not praying that our women fulfill their dreams. No. We're not praying that they become better human beings for themselves. No, we're not doing that. We're just praying that they become better for us. And so the way in the church, the way we've sort of signaled to men that it's okay to be that selfish is why men think that the world revolves around them and that the woman's need doesn't matter. And my eldest brother just posted, so I have to read it.
We need to read that. Very important.
Yeah, he said, I think it starts from teaching the boys what consent is, in as little as grabbing toys, candy, etc. We need to teach them consent and know that consent can be given and withdrawn at any time. Right. So that's why he's my other brother.
Let me say something about it. Yeah, you see why this. You know why this is important? The reason why it's important is this: children are growing these days. They go with you to stores. They go with you to malls. They want to grab anything, and you don't want to. But because it's a public place, you don't want to embarrass them. You want to give it to them to fulfill them. We're already teaching them that by crying, by throwing tantrums, they can get whatever they want.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are some of the issues. So that's why consent must be taught, even in little things. What Mike is saying, very important. The children, they know it's a public place. Children are smart. They're very smart. Yeah. They know if they were indoors, you won't give them those things. So because it's a public place, they begin to raise their voice and cry. And you don't, as a parent, you don't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
You want to give it to them so that to quell them. You're already teaching that child that by throwing tantrums, by crying, you'll be able to get whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it grows with that entitlement mentality.
Yeah. It's true. He grows with that entitlement mentality.
Thank you very much, Mike, for that mentality.
You see him as an adult.
Society, what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see him as an adult. He starts to,
Please go ahead.
if he's asking for sex and the lady says no, then he begins to cry. I'm gonna have blue balls. I'm gonna die. All gonna come to an end. But we all know that blue balls don't kill. So.
Yes. And also we need to also talk about the issue of the healing process of rape. We also don't allow people. I remember my own experience talking about forgiveness. And I was, the way we talk, we think we know everything. And then I was talking about forgiveness, forgive no matter what, and everything. Sometimes the pain and the hurt that people go through, some of them, they need a healing process. Because I was speaking about forgiveness, and this lady walked up to me after I was speaking and told me that, how do you expect me? She was about 22 years old. How do you expect me to forgive my father that started raping me from the age of 12? So that, and I was boiling, talking about forgiveness. I could not tell her anything. I was only crying because I didn't have an answer. What mess. I didn't know the next thing to say. I was that blown. It was my first time to see somebody I've read on the news. It's not the same thing as seeing somebody coming to talk to you about the experience. Reading online and any is easier. But somebody coming, and do you know it affected that person over the years to the point that she began to misinterpret lust from love. So she gave herself easily to any girl that claimed to love her because her father, who claimed to love her, was having sex with her. So how do you help a victim of rape to be able to overcome the experience, the trauma? What will you advise?
The first thing to do would be addressing the shame. Shame loves darkness. Shame thrives in darkness. The less we speak of something, the more shameful it becomes. The more power it aggregates within itself, and the more it controls our life. And the way to remove shame's power and shame's grip over your life is to expose it to light. Once you allow some light in, once you talk about something that's so shameful, it begins to become less shameful instantly. And that is the secret that many people are not aware of, and those who are use it in a terrible way. I'm going to explain what I mean. So they know that if they let you talk about that shameful thing, it ceases to be shameful and it ceases to control your life. So they convince you not to talk about it. They convince you to keep it in the darkness of the family, within the family room. Don't tell anybody. Don't come out and speak about it, because they know that thing will continue to control you. They can continue to manipulate you using that shame. So the first step I would advise would be to let some light in. If you need to talk to someone to build the courage to actually open up about what happened to you, do it. The person to whom the shame belongs is not the victim, but the perpetrator. It's like when a thief comes and robs you, and then you say you are ashamed. No, the thief should be ashamed. He is breaking the law. He is the one who is forceful and violent. You were doing everything right. You were just living your life and going on with life, and then someone broke into your house. Yeah. So the shame doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the perpetrator. And once you come out and just understand that fact, your mindset changes. And now when you speak about it, you realize that now you're shaming the perpetrator. How do you know you're shaming the perpetrator? They become very defensive. Have you seen these tweets recently on Twitter? You know, some of these perpetrators are so defensive. They come out and they're like, "You will see my lawyer." There's no lawyer who is coming anywhere. There's no lawyer because now they're ashamed. You've moved the shame from your side to their side, and so that is the I think the key to decluttering all of this. I want to read some messages here. Mike says,
Yeah,
unfortunately, to
let's
our
read
background
from top.
in Nigeria, of an elder cannot be wrong. Okay, yeah, it's part of it, of what promotes the rape culture. Our culture is it takes advantage, and I'm sorry, our culture is its
No,
advantage
our
and
culture is
disadvantages.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So Taiwo is also asking us to stop calling them victims. We should call
and
them
let's call them
survivors.
survivors. True talk. True talk.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, we stop calling them victims. I agree with you, Taiwo. They are survivors. And
Yeah.
we encourage people. Now, before we proceed, I've been saying two things throughout this week. Anyone you see, whether you know them publicly or privately, that justifies rape, we must begin to expose them.
Yeah. Shame.
Because they are either potential rapists or they're already doing it already. Anyone that defends or justifies rapes at any level is either a potential rapist or is a rapist already. Nobody, once you hear anyone trying to justify rape at any level, please let's begin to expose them. They are rapists already, or they plan to rape somebody very soon. So let's expose them. Let's expose them.
Right. I once I shared this story with my brother, and he shared a story with me too. I once I was talking to somebody someday, and he's a certified bad boy. I mean, this type of people, and he mentioned and said oh, that there's this girl who's been coming to see him, and that every time she comes around, they make out, and after they make out, they go a little bit further, but that they actually never get to penetrative sex. And he said one day that the girl came to his house, and after making out and all of the other, foreplay, he was going to penetrate her, and she said, no, I don't want it. And this was how he just told me, I just raped her. And when you hear this off the cuff, I just raped her remarks from people, you realize how people treat this issue with levity. They really think that it's just an act, like I smiled at her, or I high-fived her, I raped her. This is how they interpret these issues. If you are in such company, if you're in the company of people like that, people who speak of rape with such levity, distance yourself from them and make sure that they know why you're distancing yourself from them. Make sure they are aware that, I'm leaving you because you are a potential rapist or a rapist, and I don't want my life to be associated with yours. No, we have to get serious because, I mean, some of the stories that I've been reading, some of the stories I've heard, people getting raped from when they were 5. What do you see? What do you find attractive in a 5-year-old girl, for goodness sake? Yeah. Sorry. It's a
So
lot.
for people talking about, some people are talking about peer pressure. That's one of the reasons why we are having this kind of conversation. One of the purpose of this conversation is that we want to inculcate the right values in ourselves and to people around us. please, we want you to live above peer pressure. Everyone listen to us. From having the right values, the right mentality, we want you to become the pressure of your peer. Don't succumb to peer pressure. Become the pressure of your peer. And that's one of the ways to deal with all of these issues. When somebody's having any kind of wrong mindset, let them know your position, where you stand. It helps you a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Let them know your position. Stand strong and stand straight. And they might call you names. They might call you, some weird names and say, "Oh, you're not the happening guy." Look, it's better to not be the happening guy than to be a rapist. Honestly, I want to touch on something else, especially with some of the stories that I've been seeing recently on Twitter, and then people say, "Okay, but like, how about in marriage?" And
there was a question. Somebody sent a question. Can there be rape in marriage? See it? It was sent earlier. Can you see it?
Yes. And one more time, yes, they can be rape in marriage. They can be rape.
We need to put that forward to everyone. There can be rape in marriage. Yes.
There can be rape in marriage.
Thank you very much.
If the woman or the man, and I'm saying woman here because they are affected disproportionately. Women are affected disproportionately, but of course there are men who definitely always get raped. But by the way, when a woman starts talking about rape, your response is men get raped too. You are a potential rapist. You really are. I think that when it comes to the context of marriage, what to consider is this. People take for granted that, because she's now, my wife, I don't need to seek consent before, having sex with her. And this part of the conversation is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, so bear with me. They start to, for example, you wake up in the middle of the night, you touch her, she's tired, she says, "No, I don't want to go ahead with this." And you feel like, well, because now you're married to me, you must actually listen to everything I say. That's not how it works. A wife can withdraw consent in the middle of sex. Because she's your wife doesn't mean that you now have rights to her body, and she can never say no. She can literally say in the middle of sex, I don't want to go ahead. She doesn't even need to have a reason. I was gonna say I'm in pain, but then I realized she doesn't even need to have a reason. She could just say literally, I don't want to go ahead. It could be for any reason. It could be that.
So no. You're still saying no? No is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence, my brother. It's a complete sentence. No with a full stop. So in sex, in marriage rather, it is possible to rape your wife. That's a conversation that I think we don't have enough of. Number one. Number two. Some couples, married or unmarried, someone says sex without consent is rape either in marriage or outside marriage. Very correct. I agree with that. Okay.
Please don't forget to take the question as a question.
What's the question?
Yeah, once I pinned it. Can you see on the comment?
No, I see. Okay. Okay.
How do you set healthy boundaries? We're supposed to talk about that. Healthy boundaries.
We'll come to that.
For uncles. Yeah. Some uncles will come to the house and say, you have grown. Come and sit on my lap.
Hey.
Come and sit on my lap. All those things. How do we set healthy boundaries among friends and family to protect our children? We need to talk about that as well.
Yeah, we will. So I'll come to that. I'm glad you pinned it so I can see it now. I'll come to that. When it comes to, I said we're going to talk about some uncomfortable things. So whenever
let's be open. Just make sure you are open. Forget whether we are comfortable or not. We must just say what we need to say.
Okay. All right. Whenever sex is occurring between two people, sometimes people get a little adventurous. It says sit on which lap? Michael has a daughter. He'll kill any uncle that says sit on my lap. He'll kill them. It's not a joke.
You're thinking now. Come on, greet your uncle. Come on, greet your uncle.
So, I have also witnessed situations like this where people decide to be adventurous in sex, and they start to practice some types of sex that could be a little more aggressive. An example would be the BDSM, for example. Now, BDSM, I'm sure that we all know what that means, but it requires some level of violence, but it's violence with consent, okay? There are times that while that violent sex is going on, the woman says, stop. I'm no longer comfortable with this beating, or I'm no longer comfortable with where you're putting it, or I'm no longer comfortable with how you're putting it. Whatever be the case, even though she had initially consented to violent sex, the moment she says, I am no longer comfortable with it, it's now crossing that line to rape if you don't stop. So, I mean, there are literally people who would say, during sex, I want you to slap me, and I want you to punch me, I want you to hold me down and do this and do that. Right. If it's within the boundaries of consent, go ahead. Whatever works for you, man, I'm happy for you. But if it's outside consent, if while that's going on, she changes her mind and says, don't do that anymore, and you keep on going, that would be rape. That's actually one of those definitions of rape that people don't think about because they feel like, oh, but she always likes it hard. She always likes to play hard to get in bed. She likes it that way. And then they don't realize that the girl actually has pulled that consent. I have actually encountered an individual who says that she likes to play rape in bed.
We have 2 minutes. 2 minutes more.
Ay. What are we gonna do? Are we coming back?
What we can do right now, we have 2 issues here. We can end it now and join back again. Is that okay with you?
I'm okay with that.
All right. So please, we have less than 2 minutes more, so we just want to end now and ask people to join us back immediately. We have 2 questions that we need to take. Please pardon me. They say wrap up on a positive note.
No, we're not wrapping up around it. Wrapping up. We are coming back.
We are coming back because he said, please add more time. Another person said, please add more time. We have to listen to. There are 2 questions that we need to take, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will add you back right away.